Assalamu alaikum. You're watching Views and News and I'm Faisal Rahman live from our Islamabad studios. Today we'll be talking about this coronavirus primarily. Now, what exactly is coronavirus? How is it spreading? What sorts of precautions do we need to take? Though we are not in China, but obviously we do understand this entire area of Wuhan is kind of under curfew at the moment. It is believed that almost 6 crore people, that's well over 60 million, are practically in a state of quarantine now. As far as deaths are confirmed, one death has been reported in Philippines and around 361 in China. So things are not that great. Almost 17,000 cases have been confirmed so far, 17,000 plus, let me put it this way, plus around 10,000 other people who have been in touch in one way or the other with those who were infected or who are still being investigated. They're also under observation. As we all know that the Chinese government, they have done their level best and they've erected this hospital within 10 days time period. Now that is phenomenal, and that also tells us about one important thing, that this is an actual state of emergency, not only in China, but how is it spreading in the other countries, for example, USA, Europe, you talk about France, you talk about UK, Philippines, Japan, Hong Kong for that matter, and one case has been reported even in India. So let's see what exactly these sort of precautionary measures do we need to take, what do we have to do in order to make sure that we should stay away from it. We have this report for you, we are prepared, and just watch this report, and after that I'll introduce you to very important personalities who will throw light on this very important matter. Let's watch this report.
The World Health Organization has declared the new strain of coronavirus a global public health emergency. The number of confirmed cases of coronavirus are now more than 21,000. Till now, 368 people have also died due to this virus. Meanwhile, flight operations between Pakistan and China have resumed. 69 passengers, including 57 Pakistanis and 12 Chinese, arrived in Pakistan from China today. The flight operation was suspended temporarily for a few days' time in the wake of the outbreak of the coronavirus in China. Dr. Zafar Mirza and the Chinese ambassador also reviewed the screening arrangements made for the passengers who arrived. According to the WHO, 27 countries are affected worldwide so far. China is by far the country with the most confirmed cases. Japan is next with 20 cases. By far, the largest at-risk group from the coronavirus is those people who have been in Hubei province in China, in particular its capital Wuhan, or have been in contact with someone who is a confirmed coronavirus case. The city, as well as at least 16 other neighboring cities with a combined population of more than 50 million, have been in lockdown since the 24th of January this year. There is no 100% effective treatment for the coronavirus, but in most of the cases, doctors treat it in the same manner they treat the flu. This could involve prescribing antiviral medication used to treat influenzas A and B, as well as HIV, or antibiotics used to treat bacterial infections. However, there is no vaccine as of yet, but scientists across the world are working hard to develop one.
Now that's some very disturbing information that we have received. It's increasing and it's increasing. We haven't been able to find any vaccination so far. But is it something like influenza? Is it something like SARS or MERS for that matter? What exactly is H5N1? We have also heard that in the province of Hannan, there is report that there is another kind of bird flu out there as well. So what exactly is going on? To talk about this, we have with us in our studio Dr. Rana Jawad Asghar Saab. He's advisor to the government on the infectious and communicable diseases, how they communicate, and is also an expert on this particular matter which we are discussing today. Thank you very much, Dr. Saab, for taking out your time and being here. And we'll be also joined in by Dr. Wang Shang. She is a senior journalist and is also keeping a very close eye on this matter. Dr. Wang, thank you very much for taking your time out as well and being a part of our show. Dr. Saab, if you allow me, if we have with us Dr. Wang, let me put this first question to her, that what is the current update and the kind of measures the Chinese government has taken so far? They are remarkable. But having said that, still we see that the numbers are increasing gradually. Now it's been reported that around 20,000 people are affected. 361 only died in China, one in Philippines. And matter, is that in control, ma'am, or do you think this is an actual state of emergency?
Well, thank you for having me. Firstly, I want to say that at present, some media, especially those mainstream international media, only talk about the number of deaths every day. Of course, it is good to be cautious, but there is another side of the truth which hasn't been told, which is the number of recoveries. Here in China, we use big data here to monitor the situation. Until this moment, when you called, around 547 people have recovered and gone back home, and the recoveries far outnumber the deaths. The death number remained 362. The mortality rate is pretty low. I'm not an expert in medical issues, but my mom is a military doctor, PLM doctor. So she told me that for younger and healthier people, it's more like a bad cold. So the global community needs to be confident rather than be in panic. And plus, WHO doesn't recommend any travel or trade restriction. I'm not an expert, but in medical issues, like I said, but you have a medical experts there. Here in China, according to our medical experts, the recovered patients will produce an antibody. Chinese doctors use the plasma of the recovered person to treat infected patients during the SARS period because the recovered person's plasma contained the antibody. And hang on a second. And it worked well 17 years ago. Now Chinese doctors will use the same method to deal with the new coronavirus. And as the number of recoverers continues to increase, more antibodies will be available. Generally speaking, the infection is less likely to occur after the antibody is generated. I don't know whether am I correct. You have an expert there.
No, no. Let me put another question here, ma'am, because we also have an expert in the Islamabad studio, so we'll try to have an interactive session, we three of us. Now, what it seems like that since the 14-day is the period, the incubation period, and you won't have any symptoms, maybe you're carrying it, and later on, if you meet someone and that is transmitted from person A to person B, what we have seen that initially a person gets sick, and then obviously the body produces more antibodies, and then they feel as if they are okay, they're cured. But suddenly, then things change, and most of the people they have died this way. This is the general, sort of info which doctors and other paramedic staff has gathered so far. And definitely, as far as China is concerned, I think they have done a remarkable job. Another important point, obviously there's going to be a huge hit on the economic side of China as well. But let me put this question to you, don't you think that the Western media is overplaying this and kind of, creating a situation which we all witnessed in this movie, Contagion, ma'am?
Yes, yes, I definitely think it's a little bit uh, sensational, according to what I have been watching on those some of the Western media, not all. Some of the Western media they have their uh, political correctness, so I totally understand this.
All right. Now, Dr. Saab,
All right.
over to you now. Now, we also want you to stay, Dr. Wang. We have with us in our studio Dr. Rana Jawad Askar. He is the advisor to the government on this particular issue. Now, sir, since we know that there are a lot of Chinese workers who are working in Pakistan, and I'm sure a lot of people must have been to Wuhan or because there was this Chinese New Year. But other than that, since we are talking about the contact and the symptoms do not appear before the 14 days, could be somewhere between the 14 days, but it can be transmitted. Now, the person who is the incubator, I mean, it's a very interesting situation here. What sort of measures the government of Pakistan has taken so far, sir? Because we also learned that people are coming in via other countries instead of China and so on and so forth, sir. The measures.
Yes, I think the one thing which is which I haven't seen before in Pakistani government system was a quick action from our special advisor to the Prime Minister, Dr. Zafar Mirza, that very quickly, as soon as first case was reported outside China, we have a very high level consultations with experts. And within few days, a high level, what we call the core committee, was formed at the Ministry of Health, basically because this is a new virus. We don't know much about it, very limited information we have. So to see how things
Do
are
we
going.
have the capacity to conduct some sort of test to see whether somebody is carrying the virus or not in Pakistan, sir?
Yes, I think since last night, now NIH is doing those tests
But there is
available.
only one facility that's in Islamabad. That's
Islam, but those kits are being distributed
to other countries, cities also.
Not everywhere, but to the key labs which have that capacity to do these kind of tests. So yes, now Pakistan has this capability to check. But coming back to the question, what the steps the government has taken, very quickly we started screening incoming travelers. And I just want to make a distinction. That the virus is linked to your 14 days travel to China, not to China itself. So it doesn't mean that if I see a Chinese, I will get infected. No. Even if it's a Pakistani with a travel history of last 14 days, that's an exposure for which I need to think about it. So we need to separate, because in many Western countries, it basically racism which has started against Chinese population, which is wrong. And I want to clarify this. This is not about the Chinese. This is about
Because this
that
is the
region.
time of social media, so anybody can upload anything, any information with their own will. So people, because the moment you want to Google it, you need to get some info, and that's how you get it. Now, sir, first of all, since you're talking about the overall measures and the steps that you have taken, so it takes one person to carry the infection, and that can just sort of multiply within no given time frame. And especially when you talk about the big cities and the kind of conditions we have here, sir. But what we have learned that primarily you need to cover your nose, you need to cover your mouth area, and in certain cases we have seen that they also believe that you should be wearing something like a goggle, a swimming goggle or something, so that it can't. Is it true, sir, these three areas to transmit, or by shaking hands or something of that sort?
Until today, we don't know how it is actually transmitted. But knowing the our past experience with other coronaviruses, we are trying to have all the what we call respiratory precautions, like you make sure that you don't cough on other people, you cover your mouth, wash your hands frequently with soap, with regular soap for 20 seconds minimum, and don't touch your eyes, mouth while your hands are dirty. These are basic precautions which all of us should take. It has nothing, they are not specific.
But these are
for
the
Wuhan
mega sources
coronavirus.
from which it can be transmitted from patient A to patient B.
So we have now documentation available that it is spreading from one person to another. That has been documented. China was already saying about it. Outside world, because they didn't have that proof in front of them, were a little skeptical. But now we have seen that happen in a couple of countries outside China. So yes, it is transmitting from one person to another. But how it is spreading? Is it spreading by fine mist? It is spreading by droplets? How it is spreading? We assume this is through the respiratory, action.
Primarily, I mean, the symptoms include coughing, fever, running nose, coughing, primarily.
Very non-specific symptoms. You can't tell by looking at symptoms that this person has coronavirus or just plain common cold.
Okay.
And at this time of the year in China is going through, this is the regular seasonal cycle of their regular, influenza season. So a lot of people who may be coming from China and have running nose doesn't mean they have a coronavirus. So we need to be very clear. This is a non-specific. The only certainty we have is that when you have a travel history of 14 days and you develop those symptoms, as a precaution in Pakistan, we want to make sure that you are tested.
What sort of quarantine facilities do we have here? So like in USA, 7 airports, mostly under the military operation, they have developed those facilities. If somebody is coming in, 14 days period, and then they'll see if the person is okay or not to go. So do we have a facility of that sort at any airport?
Not maybe, we have certain facilities at some airports which we call the quarantine, but what we have done differently is actually linked with the hospitals to have isolation units or the wards which are available. And these are now marked, make sure they are working in nearly all cities where we have major airports. So like in Lahore, Islamabad, Karachi, or any major cities.
What about the masks which are available in the market? I think the ones which normally we have seen the doctors wearing, the green ones, are they
surgical
okay?
masks.
The surgical mask. Is that okay, or do you need to have a proper mask which is recommended by WHO for that matter, sir?
Why you want to wear a mask? That's the first question.
Because a lot of people are talking about precautions.
No, like if I'm in Wuhan, where this is the major outbreak going on, maybe that's the right thing to do. But not in Pakistan that you start wearing masks, because we do not have, until today, any major
For
transmission.
example, I'm talking about countries like Hong Kong, Taiwan, Macau. Look at the drop as far as tourism is concerned in Macau. 70% of their hotel capacity, the occupancy has gone down. And you can well imagine the kind of effects the stock market is having otherwise. What I'm saying is, sir, primarily because a lot of people, they have one thing in their mind, that's about CPEC. CPEC means Chinese coming in and going out. And that means that, well, there is a very high probability of some sort of a transmission from China to Pakistan. And considering the overall, I would say, I'm sure you're doing a remarkable job, but if you look at the history, sir, especially in our health sector, it's God who can save. Otherwise, so sir, no, it's pretty questionable.
No, I think a couple of things I want to make clear. We have been told, actually, by the government circles, that all Chinese who are working for Chinese state company, that's most of the people who work in the CPEC. China government has made an arrangement that they will be quarantined 14 days before traveling to Pakistan. And once they are in Pakistan, Chinese authorities will make sure that they stay separate for the next 14 days. The incubation period is just 14 days. So this is like twice the amount of time they require to be in quarantine being done by the Chinese government. So for the CPEC workers or Chinese worker, this precaution, I think, is fine, and we should not be so much worried. Coming back to your masks, surgical masks, now everyone is running down to get a mask, and pretty much the prices are like 4 times or 5 times have already gone up. You don't need to wear a mask, and to wear a mask properly, you need a proper training. The blue color mask you see, what we call the surgical mask, actually, they are not meant to stop coronavirus transmission to you. They may help you, they stop you infecting others. So if you are going through a common cold, if you wear this, you will not infect others.
There are two kinds. I mean, one can save you, and the
that's
others.
I'm coming to the N95,
Yeah.
the next one, the professional one. But what, because this is the most common, the surgical mask which most people wear. But if you are sick with the flu-like symptoms, you should not go out. You should stay home, irrespective you have coronavirus or not, because when you go out, you still infect others. Now coming on the professional mask, which is called N95, which actually protects you in those, as a professional, I can tell you, we had to go through yearly training for this mask, because not everyone can fit their mask properly.
That's the white one, like this.
That's the right one.
You wear it?
Yes,
Okay.
it's called N95.
Okay.
But it requires a training. It requires a fitness test every year. So like when I was in US, I had to have a yearly certification of it.
All right.
So if you buy it and wear it wrongfully, actually then you labored very high, you will be laboring your breathing.
All right. All right, so now let's go back to our friend Miss Wang Shang in China. Now, Wang, talking about the overall precautions the government of China has taken, because a lot of them are very exemplary. What we are witnessing on television screens, it seems as if everything has been done by some other, creation, honestly. Erecting hospitals and making them functional in 10 days seems an impossible task, but the Chinese have done it. Now, talking about the major, mega parameters regarding the outflow of this particular virus, ma'am. Let's throw light on that aspect.
You mean for globally or
What China is doing currently, ma'am, because a lot of airlines, for example, in USA, United,
yeah,
American, and another one, they have
yeah.
stopped traveling. So you think that is going to also sort of help in containing it? And what measures are being taken by the Chinese government, ma'am, in other cities also as a precautionary measure?
Yeah, we are the Chinese people. We just follow the Chinese government's orders, and here in China, we are pretty much self-disciplined. We try to reduce unnecessary gatherings and try to stay home as much as possible. The society is basically in good order. Unlike some media, I would say Western media, which use sensational headlines talking about how to get food here in Wuhan or China, I would say no one is starving here. The supermarket has enough supplies. We don't need to store food because we buy fresh veggies and fruit from supermarkets every day. We just stay at home, but everything else is remains the same. We can get our deliveries, water, clean water every day. So we feel okay at home, but just we
Ma'am,
need to stay home a little bit
Wang,
longer.
what about the
And
schools and colleges and the universities? They've been shut down primarily?
yeah, we will be the new semester will be delayed. The new semester will be delayed because we need to pass the 14 days the incubation. So as to protect the global community, I would say it's better to be responsible at the current moment, and it's better not to blame each other for the moment.
All right. And
Yeah.
Wang, also, what about those individuals? For example, if somebody is in a house with his family, so they are cooking the food, obviously, they are having everything else done the way they used to earlier as well. So, what you are saying, what I've understood so far, is that the Western media is overplaying this entire episode, and
Yeah.
the kind of impression that is being given out is as if there's some sort of a shot from a movie where the entire city is empty and it's a ghost city of something, that's all. So because earlier I was also watching a couple of interviews of Pakistani students from Wuhan, and they said that we are going out and
Yeah.
they were making videos, so everything seemed not that bad actually.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's true because everything is in good order here. We get our food, and my mom cooks. We just don't go to restaurants for the moment, and also we received a lot of love from Pakistan. I really want to take the opportunity to thank you, to give my thanks to Pakistani friends, because here in China, everyone knows Pakistan has provided us medical relief supplies like N95 masks, gloves, gowns, goggles, aprons, suits. When your own country is facing the problem of locusts, our state media has reported the challenge faced by Pakistan, which is the problem of locusts. I'm a little bit sad that most international media ignore the countries which really need help. But many Chinese people are really touched by what Pakistan has done for us, and the sincere prayer from Pakistani people. There is a widely shared prayer in English on Chinese social media sent by Pakistani friends. If you don't mind, I would like to read it because it says, "Let's pray for the country China who gave us almost everything, a safe place to continue our studies, a place where we shared our happiest and sad moments together, the country which we called our second home. Let's pray for the people of China and everyone who are suffering from virus. Pray that everyone remains safe and those who suffered from the disease get back to their normal lives. A lot of prayers and best wishes for Wuhan and people of China. China, we're with you. Stay strong." It is so widely spreaded on Chinese media. Many of us, my parents and I, we cried after reading this. It reminds me of the two Pakistani policemen who sacrificed their lives 2 years ago during the Chinese consulate attack in Karachi. I was in Pakistan by the time, and I have witnessed every touching moment then. So
No,
at
indeed,
this
I mean,
moment, I think it's yeah,
Miss Wang, I mean, that is,
I,
I think,
yeah,
the feeling of every Pakistani. We all pray and we all hope that everything stays well. Rather, this virus is taken care of on ASAP basis. We'll just take a short break here, and after the break, we'll
Yeah.
return and we'll continue our discussion. Let's have a break.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome back. Now, Dr. Rana Saab, couple of questions. Do you think, sir, age would matter in such kind of situations, sir, where it is believed that it directly hits your respiratory system and affects your lungs, and then you have this breathing problem, and eventually you collapse, and that's how it works? So older age, that means that because a lot of times we believe that the older people should always keep their chest warm, because what if they get pneumonia or something? Because the older you get, the weaker your lungs are, and obviously, and if somebody is a smoker and they have compromised lungs, that's a separate case scenario, sir. Age, does it matter, sir? Do you think older people should be more careful as compared to younger? How do you see that
Age
aspect?
always matter in different diseases, not only just coronavirus, many diseases. And for those infectious diseases, normally the younger age group, the kids and older people are normally more susceptible. Okay. But in many times, what we have witnessed that older people are somehow protected of a viral outbreaks. And the reason may be that while they were growing, they were exposed to some variant of that virus early in their lives, and their body built an immunity. So we saw that phenomena too. So age is very relative to all diseases, and not just about pneumonia, as you were saying in your question. It also, your age is very important for your cardiovascular diseases also. So okay. All diseases, age
And
does
what
matter.
about the weather, sir? Like cold, or if you have, for example, autumn or spring, does that matter also, sir?
Yes, many diseases have what we call cyclic or seasonal variations. Just I told you that even influenza at this time normally happens in this time period in China. So there are seasons of certain viruses. This coronavirus, specific coronavirus, because it's so new, we cannot make a judgment that it is specific to one season or it's going to last the whole year around.
So normally, if it's spreading fast, what could be the areas for I'm not talking specifically about coronavirus, sir. For example, you talk about your H5N1, sir, or you talk about SARS, you talk about MERS. Because in certain other cases, like for example, in the SARS case, so we have seen that there were, I mean, if let's suppose 100 people were infected, around 35 people died. So in this case, now, as the lady was telling us, that the Western world is primarily, or the media is focusing more towards about death 362, but people are not talking about that 550 plus people who are recovered also. So that is also something pretty interesting.
Yes, but the way this coronavirus has spread to 26 countries in like 4 weeks' time, that shows it's highly infectious. MERS kills 35 people out of every 100 it infects. SARS only killed 10%. When I say
okay,
10%,
it was MERS.
It was MERS. But SARS, and this is, I would say, kudos to China's government. They controlled the SARS. So SARS infected 8,000 people, killed 800 people, made a major dent to economy of the region, not only China, not only Hong Kong.
Even now, sir, Hong Kong, Malaysia, Indonesia, I mean, most of these Australian tourists, even the Chinese tourists going to Indonesia, Bali in particular, dropped to nothing. I mean,
Yes, all financial markets dropped today across
airline
the globe.
industries,
Yes.
industries in, for example, Lufthansa lost its share value in Germany. So the whole world is getting impacted.
And why the world is getting so paranoid and why the press is picking this story. After SARS, the global public health professionals are very much worried about a major pandemic, something like SARS, which can quickly go
Also,
over.
tell our viewers, Dr. Sab, about what is epidemic and then what's pandemic. What's the difference?
Okay, let's start with outbreak, epidemic, and pandemic. Outbreak is a normal, not normal, let's say, more than expected cases in a small area, like small outbreak. Let's say this is a localized that can happen in one part of Islamabad.
Like
or
cholera, for example, breaks out
Yes,
somewhere.
if it stays in a geographically small area. If it's spreading to more areas, like we had a dengue, let's say, epidemic, or so it's more areas is involved. Pandemic is actually when, according to WHO's definition, when more than 2 continents have ongoing transmission of the diseases.
pandemic.
Not yet. We are at the borders.
USA, Europe, Australia, Asia.
No, we have seen cases in all the continents which have a travel history from China. We have seen local transmission, very little. So you need to understand the most cases.
So last night, I mean, they were saying there were 3 confirmed cases of corona in California, one in Illinois, one in Arizona, one in Massachusetts, suspected case in New York, total 8 cases according, and they have said now they have imposed this public health emergency.
Actually, America has 11 cases by now because the numbers are increasing.
Because exactly this is last night.
So the
what I'm
question
talking
is just like we have given this mandate to WHO to look at the global situation and see is the transmission is as happening as it is in China in outside other continents also. That has not happened yet. We have seen local transmission in few countries, but it's infected 1 person or 2 person, not as it's happening in China.
Getting infected from the source.
From the source.
But sir, there was another very interesting story. There was this lady, Chinese lady, went to Wuhan,
Yes.
came back to Germany. She was around 38 years old. She met this 44-year-old guy. Most likely they had a cup of tea, coffee somewhere, had a beating. And then he had 2 other partners. And once the lady left, this man got infected. Now, he felt sick for 3 days. After 3 days, on the 4th day, he went to work. And those 2 got infected. Out of them, one had met that woman. What I'm saying, it's a very interesting connection.
Yes.
So that he became a carrier, I mean, within those infectious period, I mean, that is...
So let's put the numbers out. There are nearly 185 cases only.
Because in the incubation period, you don't show symptoms.
Yes.
Now, that is the most important, but you're a carrier.
Yes, you don't show, and actually you can infect others.
That's what I'm saying.
While you are not positive or you don't have any symptoms. But there are only 100. So let's put the panic to realistic facts. And facts are this: there are only 185 coronavirus infected patients outside China. So China has 17,000 plus, and outside world has all those 26 countries only 185. Out of those 185. Vast majority, and I don't have that number, but I would assume more than 170 have direct link with someone like China travel. Are they traveled themselves or something? What we call the 3rd generation transmission, in which this is that you have traveled from China, you infected me, and then I infected to somebody else who has never met you or have never gone to China. That has happened. I'm not saying it has not happened, but it's very
That's
out
the
of the
worrying
big
part.
out of the big equation. That's a very small component at this time. So unless that's happening at different continents to at level where the WHO decides this is a major pandemic.
Now, Dr. Saab, another quick comment before I go back to China and talk to the fellow journalists there, sir. Now, for example, in Hong Kong, the hue and cry was about that, there are 14 checkpoints, and they said that close them with the mainland China, and primarily so that they can restrict the population. Obviously, the CEO had issues with that also, but eventually we have seen that. But the paramedic staff was very concerned that, what if we get it? Like, they're trying to get the minimum inflow just in case. Obviously, everybody would like that. Now, talking about the paramedics, sir, are Pakistani doctors really trained for this? I'm just talking about the worst case scenario here, sir. Worst case. I mean, you should always think about the worst, and then you can actually look after the affairs. Are we geared up for that? I mean, since you told us that, you have made certain portions and you vacated alongside with the other setup of medical facilities. Now, sir, is that enough? Docs are prepared. And when we talk about a global health emergency, I mean, if US is saying that, Pakistan is right next, we have a border with China. So that level of adoption, certain SOPs, let's talk about it.
Yes, I think I will say that the whole government is taking it as an emergency mode. But we are not declaring it because, but for our preparations for last 2-3 weeks, the whole government, and I must clarify, I'm not representing government, I'm from the outside as a technical advisor. But what I have seen, I have never seen before, because it's not just the Ministry of Health which is working on it. Nearly every stakeholder in Pakistan, like 10 different ministries, organizations, are working together and are very close to make sure that we are ready. But the comparison has to be made realistic. If we are comparing with the isolation room unit in US, it's very difficult, the amount of money they spend and the resources they spend, to compare it with our isolation unit in Pakistan. But as much as we could prepare.
What is available is being utilized at its optimum level, primarily. Now, let me have the final word with Ms. Wang there. Wang, since we all know that Wuhan is an educational hub, there are more than 30 colleges and universities there. And since everybody is talking about this now, those even who haven't even heard about this city now all related to this particular unfortunate incident. Now, you tell us about the situation out there, in particular the medical facilities, since you have all done a brilliant job, but yet you're talking about 20,000, around 20,000 confirmed cases, and looking at the trajectory, it's going up. I hope and pray it is contained. But is the Chinese government, and particularly the authorities of those particular cities which are infected the most, geared up to that level, ma'am?
Yeah. And actually, everyone knows that Wuhan is the center of this epidemic. However, due to proper protective measures, there is one institute called Wuhan Institute of Virology. No one has been infected there, and they have some advice to be given. Let me share with you. Number one, be sure to wear a mask, even the simplest type. And number two, take 2 packs of paper towels, one dry and one wet, when going out. Touch door handles, elevator buttons through dry tissues. And number three, try not to go to crowded place. Go to the office at separate time periods, one person at a time. And number four, wipe out your hands with a wet tissue when arriving home. Wash your hands. Hang your coat, handbags in the balcony for air and sun. And in this way, this institute protect their staff pretty well. No one has been infected yet. Um, and then I still want to say that 17 years ago, SARS actually died when the summer came. The viruses
Okay.
cannot stand the high temperature. It's just a question of time, and yeah, even without vaccine, the virus will die.
But currently it's pretty cold, I'm sure, in Beijing because this is the beginning of February. And I believe
Yeah,
Beijing and
yeah.
this area is pretty cold, isn't it?
Yes, yes. So that's why we have delayed the new semester so as to ensure the safety of our own citizens and the global community. So it's better to sacrifice a little bit some of our economy to keep the global community safe.
Uh,
Yeah,
One quick last comment, Ms. Wang. It's up to you if you want to
yeah.
answer this or not. There was this very
Okay,
interesting report I was watching, most likely on YouTube, and it said this coronavirus
okay.
leaked from some China's bioweapons program. I mean, obviously, every country has their own programs and facilities to sort of uh, do research and conduct various other things. But since there are two institutions out there, so what sort of a role are they playing to contain this?
Well, there are so many rumors about biowas recently, either by any country. I don't want to say the name, but I think it's better not to spread the rumors for the moment. And also, it's not the time to spread the hatred at this moment. It's better to spread the love, and it's better for the global community to work together. No matter it's China, U.S., Western, Eastern Pakistan, UAE. We already received a lot of loves from many neighboring countries: UAE, Russia, Japan, Malaysia, Iran, Nepal, Germany. So we would like to work together with the global community rather than spread the rumors and hatred.
Very well said. Thank you so much, Ms. Wang, for your contribution in our today's program. Once again, thank you very much. So, last closing
Thank you
remarks,
for
Dr.
having
Sir.
me.
I think we should not be panic. Panic creates problems for the country and it creates a rush to the hospitals. And when everyone who start rushing toward a hospital, the real patients suffer, which needs hospitalization. So number one, don't get panic. Wash your hands. If you sneeze, cough, cover your mouth and nose. And if you are sick, stay home. Simple as like
If you're
that.
sick, and these are basic manners also.
Exactly.
Let's not cough on somebody's mouth. And if you don't shake hands for a couple of days, doesn't
That's
mean
okay.
that you are not having that friendship anymore. It's just a matter of days, and it's a precautionary issue. And as you said, that carry two towels, one wet and one dry if you're going out. I mean, that's for the extreme case scenario. And you need to wash your hands. Try not to hold the handles of the doors, knobs for that matter. These little things do matter eventually. Try to wear a mask if you're going out. Simple as that. And I think that is it. But anyway, Doctor, once again, thank you very much, sir,
pleasure.
for your detailed interview. And that's all we have for this hour. I'll see you tomorrow, inshallah. Till then, you take good care. Khuda Hafiz.